in the afternoon we have privilege of my colleague Heli Parhiala to join us, talk about the individual needs. Before giving the floor 100% to Heli, I would give you some treats. I promised the Finnish education, cuisine and everything else. So let's start with this one, whether you're familiar. What's that? Licorice. So you can have your own and maybe take a small bite. If it's not something you wish to eat more, and if you like it, then I can give you more treats later on during the week.
Is this the one that you were talking about?
Licorice. Then I have also.
This is the pure thing. It's not flavored.
Yeah. This is a pure thing. The soft one. Then we have different types. We can have those later.
But there's one also that comes as a flavor.
Thank you.
There's one that comes as a beverage, alcohol beverage.
As well.
Flavored with us.
Yes, and there are lots of different flavors of this. We can also get familiar with those during the week. But now, please, Miss Heli, floor is yours.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. And welcome to Finland. How has your stay been so far?
That's nice to hear.
Can you show me with your fingers, how do you feel today on this seat scale?
This is so funny.
Okay. I see some sheet number 2, 9, 6, 7, 8, 5. Of course.
That's amazing.
Yes. So I understood that this is your first whole day here in Finland, and you just arrived last night, and probably it's very understandable if you feel a bit overwhelmed and exhausted. And so I just wanted to see what kind of audience I'm facing today. Okay, I could say that I'm definitely feeling also number 9, I would say, because there haven't been so many groups lately here on site in Finland due to pandemic. So most of the training and workshops that we have conducted has happened online. So it's very, very refreshing to have you here in the same room with me. So I'm very happy about it. So my name is Heli, and my background is in teaching as well. So I've been working as a special educational needs teacher, both here in Finland and abroad. And I've graduated from University of Jyväskylä. So this is actually my study town. And now for the last 5 years I've been working at EduCluster Finland as a lead expert. And I would say my main responsibilities are our international partner schools overseas, and especially the inclusive practices. They're developing them and developing the support systems at our school, and of course having different kind of trainings and workshops on those matters. So now today we have time until 2:15, right? And I was thinking that firstly, let's say for 30 minutes or so, I go through a little bit the Finnish educational support system. I don't know, have you had time to discuss about that at all yet? No, yeah, that I was thinking about. So it's also then for you to have a better understanding how we are supporting all of our learners in Finland and good background information for you when you are visiting the schools, so might be interesting for you. And then, because in Finland it's everybody's duty, all teachers are responsible for giving support their students, so then we are looking at one method that is very much used in Finland, the differentiation instruction. So we are looking at some practical elements of that then for the last hour or so. And there will be some discussion time or activities for you to do. And whenever you feel that you want to ask something or get some clarification, just please shout out. So I'm happy to answer and clarify. And also, if you start to feel too cold, you can just stand up and walk around or do some movements. I don't mind at all. Okay, a little bit to dive into this matter. I will show you a video from YouTube. It takes about 7 minutes. And while we are watching at the video, I want you to write down 3 things that you learn about educational support, or maybe you knew those already, but was summarized the educational support system in Finland from your point of view, and then we continue to work together with your care, and then we share our thoughts together. But now, first thing to do is watch the short video and write 3 things down. This video is recorded by reporters from Singapore, so some parts of it they are comparing things between Singapore and Finland, but we don't have to mind about those. Just focus on what you see that is happening in the school and what, for example, teachers are telling.
It's an amazing space. They understand the furniture. It's a space for children.
Okay, now it should be visible.
It's an amazing space. They have no standard furniture. It's an open space where children can kneel, crawl, jump, sprawl on the floor. So it's not rigid. And I see the teachers moving around with the children. And children can feel quite free. And it's actually not easy to tell which child is special and which doesn't.
Sorry about the voice, we are trying to find the volume button.
the children, they feel safe here because they know everybody by their name, and when somebody's in a bad mood, they just know, okay, that's the way, and then they know that others will take care of them.
To compare this future school concept to the traditional way of teaching, we are flipping the whole setting. The role of the learner is very active, and the task of a teacher, it's not to tell the pupils what they have to repeat, but it's to scaffold the learning process.
Luette ohjeet ja pyritte ratkaisemaan itse, miten peli pelataan. Jos ei onnistu, niin kai minä tai sitten joku ajan.
We call this station work. It bases on functional math learning. And I have organized 6 different groups working together, different classes. Each group, each station has 40 minutes time to do the task. I have wrote down the instructions in every station.
Then she will turn the wheel.
And if they don't know what to do, then they ask me. First they think together. That's part of problem solving.
I think what we're really looking at is having furniture and having surroundings that allows children to move rather than spaces that don't really challenge children. Because very often people think students should focus, pay attention, don't move. But really, sometimes children need to move.
The outdoor space, you see that the students were just playing, climbing rocks and just having fun. The students were also arguing, fighting, but they made up quite quickly after that. And I think that's a recognition that children with special needs especially really need that space to move about. All together, and they were noticed when I was a kid. So when nobody knew when I was in high school. Yeah, when I was 15.
At Hera, we give courses for people who have learning difficulties and also for teachers and other professionals who work with them. We want to inform about all the technological aids and all the new stuff that has been invented. This is one example of the notebook. You can decide the colors and, for example, say that you study for 15 minutes and then you can take a break. So you put this on, then next time you could try whether you could concentrate for 20 minutes.
Many years ago, they gave me some like audio books, so I could listen and read at the same time. So that's really the first time I read anything. I haven't read not a one before.
So that must have been quite an enchantment for you.
Yeah, that was the first time I studied for the exams or stuff like that. So it was new.
Youth and even children very fast start feeling different if they have problems. They kind of start feeling stupid. So that's why it's really, really important to get all the aid that is possible directly to the schools.
I would like to think that in the future every child has a safe feeling at school, and the main goal is that everyone find something where they are good at.
To build good self-consciousness to these children with special needs, they know that they have to practice a bit more, but our students, they are clever and they will be part of the society.
As they see how the teachers are embracing the students' diversity diversity of needs, I believe that the one-on-ones will also see this and in their own ways also be able to help others who are different from them. And I think all this then make the whole concept of inclusion successful. The students, for them, they are just friends.
Singapore has a small population and few natural resources, and therefore it's so important that the potential of the people are developed, because that's the future. And I think moving forward into the 21st century, diversity is going to be a strength, even though it is a challenge.
Okay, so if you haven't yet written down the 3 words that you learned about educational support in Finland, you can do it now. Very good. I could easily recognize our education system from these words. Obviously, this is the idea and the goal. You will see different kind of schools this week, and you will see that it doesn't look like what you just saw in the video. So most probably there are classrooms with desks and chairs and so on. But I think the ideology is there, and the concept of learning and the concept of support, that is something that we share in Finland among all the teachers. If you haven't used this answer garden before, or are you familiar with this tool? So this is a free tool. It's very easy to do this kind of sheets, or what do you want to call them? So also if you are working with older students, so this is a good way to gather some feedback or comments. And as you can see, some of the words are here in a bigger font. It means that these same words have been put there, submitted there more than once. So it's easy to see the common opinion if there is something you want to know. But just to give a tip that this is quite handy online tool and free to use, Answer Garden.
I will share the link in this email.
Yeah. Okay. But many things were mentioned in the film, and you picked them up from the video. But these are the basic principles of student support in Finland, and all of these that I'm showing you here are stated by the law, by Basic Act of Education. So all these are stated in our national core curriculum as well. So every student has a right to have early preventive support in learning and growth. Student doesn't need to have any diagnosis or any statement from the doctor or special need teacher or anything. It's everyone's right to get support.
I'm sorry, did you say without diagnosed?
Yes, everyone is entitled for this general support.
Okay, so when the teacher realizes that there's something problem.
Yeah, I will. That's a good question, and I will show you soon this 3-tiered support system model, and how we are identifying the needs of support and what is the role of teacher in that. So the focus is always on the earliest support as possible. We try to act before problems occur and they are getting more challenging. But when there are need for extra support, when there are some specific needs, we need to still all the time assess the progress of the student and how is their learning, how is their school attendance, and we are then chasing the methods or support actions based on that. So it's continuously assessing the student situation.
I have a question. Does this mean that in Finland, special education is not separate from the main school system? It's integrated into the mainstream education?
In most of the cases, that's the case. So we do have quite inclusive education system. Most of the students who are receiving support are studying in mainstream schools. They are integrated in mainstream classrooms. But we do have some special schools. There are under 100 in Finland for the cases that really need very specific support. For example, if they're totally blind, deaf, or they need support with everything, eating, with toilet, with everything that they need, even special equipment if they cannot move around on a wheelchair and so on. So say those severe cases when the kid really needs this kind of specialized professional support that the school cannot provide. There are special schools for those. But most of the students are studying in the mainstream schools, in a mainstream classes, but in those mainstream schools we do have, so to say, special classes, smaller groups, usually students between 8 to 10, and they might have a placement there that they have some lessons in a smaller group, but the idea is to have them integrated together with the mainstream classes as much as possible. And in Finland, kids are going to the school that is close by their home, so that is also idea that all the support comes to the school, comes to the student, rather than student is going far away to have his needs met. And every teacher is responsible for learning and well-being of the students. We do have this kind of work description as a special needs teacher. I will show later what is his work description, but the idea is that every teacher needs to plan and organize his or her teaching in a way that it supports everybody. So it's not only some specific people, some specific teacher or psychology or somebody who takes care of the kids with the support needs.
Are they trained for that during teachers' training?
Yes, yes.
They learn about it?
Yes, in some extension, yeah. I'm sure if you go and ask from a class teacher that do you have enough information and resources and knowledge, most of them they will say that no, and that's true. Probably that's something that they could study more in university, but it's a topic that is covered at some point, at some extension there in studies.
Sorry, but if they are all teachers, okay, because we didn't learn it when we were younger. Do they have to take part in teacher training to be able to learn this kind of knowledge?
Well, when the teacher students are doing their training, so they are already meeting a lot of students with different kind of needs, because I will soon show you the level of supports, and you will understand that there are a lot of support needs in a mainstream class, so they need to tackle those already in their training. So that is something that they are facing.
So they have to.
Yeah, but if you go to do your training to the mainstream classroom in Finland, you will have for sure special kids there in your classroom.
So sometimes, as a teacher, you have to take part in a teacher training.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, do you mean like this kind of professional development?
Yes. Is it a must or you can choose?
There is always some couple of days per year that all the pedagogical staff they need to get training. But I would say that in Finland we do have this lifelong learning mentality. So many teachers, they want to do more studies on their free time, even with their own expenses and so on. So most of the teachers, they are looking for extra training.
Sorry, just to clarify, I feel that there was a misunderstanding. If I remember correctly, this inclusive and this modernized, so this type of the education started 20 years ago. And what about the teachers who were trained before that? So how did they get the knowledge?
Yes, that's a good point, and there are those kind of in-house training happening at the school. But of course, many teachers, especially the teachers who have studied many years ago, they can feel, and I'm sure, as I said, if you ask, they will say that I don't have enough tools to meet all these diverse needs. So it's no. Of course, you are very welcome to ask. That's a very good. So the last sentence there, that special education in Finland is actually nothing special. And why I'm saying that, I'll show you that nowadays, let me go to this picture. Maybe before, as you mentioned that 20-30 years ago, the situation was like this in a classroom here in Finland, that there were a couple of students that the teacher was wondering about, that okay, I know that this kid has some difficulties in reading, and maybe this kid is a bit restless and she needs more support with that. But then everybody else, they will manage, they will do as I told them to do, and I'll give these exercises and they are good with those. But now we understand that actually everyone has their individual needs. Also we here, if we start to ask where you are good at, or what is your strength and what is your weakness, I'm sure we can find very much different kind of answers. So we do understand nowadays that there are different needs, different strengths, weaknesses, interests. And when we are thinking about the education, we have to, as teachers, to plan our instruction in a way that it will support all the learners in your classroom. And this picture is also explaining that idea that maybe there are some challenges, some areas that student needs more support, but there are always things that you can find that somebody is good at, and you can use those to balance the learning and well-being and school attendance. So in Finland, when we are talking about inclusive education, our way of looking at it is very pragmatic, and it's also pedagogical question. So inclusion, I'm sure you know and understand that it's interpreted many ways in different countries. But in Finland, it's very concrete actions, how students are getting the supports that they are needed, that they need, and what can school offer, and how can teacher also help the kids. So it's not that much this kind of administrative or bureaucracy thing here in Finland. It's very much needs-based approach. And as I earlier told, all these are coming from our law, the Basic Education Act, and it's stated in the core curriculum, and all the schools in Finland are using the same national core curriculum. Of course, there are localization done by municipalities, but the framework is the same for everyone. But this is how the support is organized in Finland. Yes.
Does this support also extend to immigrant children also?
Yes.
How, maybe?
I will show you what are the support methods. Okay. So, but basically, because there might be an immigrant kid who doesn't have any specific needs as such, but then there might be some that they need more help with language, or they have some mental issues if they're coming from war zones and so on. So this system helps them as well. So there is a general support, intensified support, and special support. Those are the three tiers that we have. And the general support is for everyone. Everyone is entitled for that. And it means, I'll show you soon the support methods in a separate slide. But it means that this is everyday actions, what happens every day at school. It's responsible of all the teachers to provide good teaching, good learning opportunities. And then if there are more, if the general support is not enough, then the kid will move to intensified support. Meaning, and then that there might be already more systematic and more intensive methods in use. But yet again, everybody can have intensified support, no diagnosis needed. In the school there is a welfare team, multi-professional welfare team, which is coordinating what kind of support who is getting. But these decisions are done locally in the school, of course together with the parents.
Excuse me, the welfare team in the school?
Yeah.
They are not teachers, they are the welfare team.
The welfare team is, there is usually a special education teacher, principal, then depending on the case, of course the teachers who are teaching the students who are involved in the case.
So they're not in professionals?
No, everybody.
Teachers.
Yeah. So the schools,
the
school staff.
Teachers.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
are the welfare team.
Yes. That's correct. And then if there is a need for continuous, more heavy methods, so to say, then the kid can be moved to the special support tier, and that needs a decision. That is already an administrative decision. And then the it's more, of course, all the stages they are followed and planned very carefully and assessed, but the special support is this kind of decision that is also monitored by the school or education provider, municipality, and so on.
Excuse me, could you give us an example of when a kid needs general support? So what happens at school to him or her?
Yeah. I will. Yes. But before we go to that slide, I still want to explain that for some subjects or some areas that he or she needs more intensified support. And it can happen that there is a period of time for some reason that kid needs to have more support, and then he or she is moved to intensified support, and then after some time he can go back to general support. So it's also a very flexible system. It doesn't mean that if you are getting support now that you are labelized or labeled as a kid with support needs. And it might be also that somebody is very advanced. So when we are talking about these needs, I'm not only talking about challenges, but there might be very advanced students who need extra challenges. They can study already like content from the upper grades, or they need different kind of projects and so on. And all in all, when I'm talking about these needs, it's good to remember that in Finland we don't only look at the academic skills or challenges. So there might be support needs in behavior or in interaction skills or in attention or those kind of things. So not only academic skills. So this is the tier 1. Very briefly, you can see that basically high quality education for everyone. Then intensified support for students who need more regular support. They might need several support forms at the same time. And the support is provided over a longer period of time. Collaboration is a key word always. It's the teachers who are teaching a student, then the parents, and then a school, other professional, probably a SEN teacher, special education need teacher, or if there is a need for external expert, then he or she can be involved if there is a kid who has some support network outside the school already. So it's typical that those stakeholders are doing collaboration with the school as well. And then the special support, tier number 3. Basically, in this special support tier, there are, I would say, I think 8% all of the students in Finland are receiving special support. And most of the students at some point are getting some extra support. So that's why we are saying it's nothing special, because for example, when I was a student, I remember that I went to some math lessons to work with a special education teacher, and that was okay. There was some period that I needed help with something, and I was working there for some lessons, or he was helping me, and then after that I didn't need that kind of support anymore. So that's very typical for many Finnish students to have this kind of experiences. So most of the students are receiving some kind of support during their school years. Yeah.
In this PAP space, for example, when does it happen when the teacher understands that one student is left behind, have problems, and then the teacher can decide that this student needs an extra support? Can it happen?
Yeah.
Or can it happen the other way, that the parent finds the teacher, that the parent thinks that this child needs extra? Do they get it in school?
Yeah, both.
Both.
Yeah, in both cases are very possible.
Just very last question.
Yeah.
can it happen that nothing happens? There's a problem and it is ignored.
That can happen also, unfortunately, but not very typical. But maybe when it comes to this, if it's very visible, the problem, so then it's easier to everybody notice and help.
Yes.
But sometimes there might be this that there is problem with school attendance or something, and if the student is quite shy, quiet, and if the parents are not very interested, so it might be difficult to find out what is the reason behind. And as you saw the girl in the video telling that she was diagnosed only in 15, so that might happen.
Okay.
But that's why there are a lot of this kind of collaboration between parents, teachers, when there are transition phases from one level to another, that we wouldn't miss out this. And that's why also in Finland we are focusing on the student knowledge, that one teacher is teaching one group of students for many years, because when you get to know your students well, it's easier to notice these kind of things in a lower grades. So it's very typical that one teacher is teaching almost all the subjects for same group of students.
Just a question regarding again these extra support. So do this take place? Does this take place in a school, like after classes, or in the afternoon, or during the classes?
Well, here you can see that is a good question, and this is actually answering that one. So here you can see what are the methods how we can support our students. And as you can see, that this is now the tier number 1, general support. This is tier number 2, intensified, and tier number 3, special support. So we can still use all the methods for all the kids. Only thing that full-time special needs education cannot be given to students who don't have the decision on special support. But basically all the students without any diagnosis or any administrative decision, they can get remedial teaching from their teacher. That can happen after school days or during recess time before the school day. They can get part-time special needs education from a school SEN teacher. Either it's quite typical nowadays that SEN teacher is working together with the class teacher inside the class. Sometimes they do these pull-out lessons that they might work with a smaller group. There is this multi-professional welfare team, including school nurse, school psychology, SEN teacher, so teachers can consult them. There are learning assistants that are supporting all those kids. But I would say that most important thing is this differentiation. So what happens inside the classroom that every teacher can do and help. But I know this might be now a bit difficult to understand, a lot of information in short time, and we went this through quite briefly. But maybe I would, if you remember one thing from this, or you try to summarize this, so I could help you by saying that everyone has individual needs, and we are trying to meet all those needs, and it's every teacher's responsibility. But then there are this multi-professional work inside the school that are helping and supporting. And basically the idea is that even though kid has a decision on special support, the kid will study in a mainstream school, the school which is close to him or her, but there are smaller groups that for some lessons kid can study in a smaller group. But for example, when I was working as special education teacher and I had my own group, I had 10 students with different kind of disabilities and challenges, there were many subjects or many things that we actually worked together with the mainstream class, and we mixed our students, and also sometimes I had students from the mainstream class, they maybe needed more help in some subjects, so they came to me when I had a smaller group, and then some of my students were with a bigger group when they had when there were subjects or topics that they didn't need so much my help and so on. So it's very flexible in Finland, the system. That's at least the goal. But now I can see that we are running out of time almost, so I'll show you this before we go this differentiation part. So about the identification, that you mentioned that if can it happen that we don't notice that if there is a need for support. But basically there is this screening and baseline testing done at the beginning of the school year by the class teachers. Maybe SEN teacher is working together with less teachers to find out. Continuous assessment, formative assessment that we are using a lot in Finland is a very good way to identify if there is a need to change something in teaching, if there is some challenges with kids, because then we can all the time change the support methods when we are continuously assessing the kids, rather than just having one big test at the end of the school year. So a lot of this everyday observation, collaboration between students, and definitely collaboration with parents. But for example, when we have KG students coming to grade 1, there are this kind of transition information meetings, or when the kids are going from grade 6 to grade 7, which is one transition point, there are meetings. So we try to forward the information, the individual learning plans, and so that yet again support can be planned and teachers can act early enough. Do you have this kind of SEN teacher in your country, that there is one teacher who doesn't have own group but are there consulting the other students? And
it's a very different system.
Yeah.
But we have SEN teachers specialized for different groups of special needs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this might be that when you're now visiting the school, so there might be in a classroom, there is a teacher of that classroom, then there might be learning assistant, and the learning assistant is also for the whole class, not for the, typically not for one student only. And then there might be a SEN teacher, special need teacher working, so they are co-teaching. So we do have this role that they do this kind of collaboration and consultancy work, and also lead welfare team work. So I'm not going into the welfare work more, but we do have this communal welfare, which is for all the school. Yet again, we try to focus on early support, and we are planning, developing, implementing, evaluating the welfare of whole school community. But then we do have this individual welfare if there is some concerns on specific students. So then expert team is formed up, and they will plan, discuss, assess the situation of one student. Now let's do so that that we don't fall asleep after the lunch. So let's have a very short discussion moment. Let's do inside, outside circles. So if you could stand up. So this is the structure. This is the goal and idea. But, and I want you have the understanding, very in a nutshell. But when you go to school, when you meet with teachers, when you see the reality, of course we do face challenges with this system here in Finland, and it's a lot of discussion currently ongoing that teachers feel that it's not good that there are more kids with special needs in a mainstream lesson or mainstream classrooms. They don't have enough resources, time, knowledge to handle those. And so there are a lot of debates going on. Some teachers feel very stressed about this, that there should be more small groups and there should be more like this kind of special education teachers for those kids and so on. So I'm not saying that this is happening 100% and everybody is happy, not at all, and you will see that. But this is the goal and the structure, the support structure that we are having. And obviously also in Finland we do have different kind of areas in bigger cities, that there are schools that have more maybe kids from the lower economical stages or from immigrant families, and if they are just moved to Finland they probably need more support with the language and things like that. And then there are these areas that are quite wealthy, and maybe there are not that kind of problems that occurs in some other areas. Maybe I don't know if you have the same kind of thing in your country, that there are different kind of areas with different kind of needs. So obviously there are because the kids are going to the local school, the school close to their home, so the area it affects. Even though we have very equality education in Finland, still comparing to many countries. So it doesn't matter if you go to Lapland up in the north or in Helsinki, in our capital, it's good quality everywhere, but still you can see this kind of differences already here in Finland. And this picture I just wanted to show you that we all understand that it's not only what happens in the classroom. Obviously teachers can do a lot, and we can do a lot because the support it should be implemented on everyday actions, but obviously then the whole community and leadership management has to be involved, and they need to also provide this kind of framework that teachers can then work according this inclusive approach. So, and I will now show a couple of things regarding the classroom part, regarding the differentiation. We don't have time to go through these slides in a depth that we could use, but last 10 minutes we will at least have a short look at this. So when we have a group of students, so we should understand that they have different needs, strengths, interests, and no matter if the students have diagnosis or no, we still understand that there are a lot of different kind of students in your classroom. I'm sure many of you have seen this picture. It's very common picture. There is a teacher or professor saying that for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And as we can understand that it's not very fair for monkey, and or for monkey it's very fair, but for goldfish, for example, not that fair, and so on. So one size does not fit all, and that is, we already know that it's very outdated approach to think like that. And then it usually comes to teachers that, okay, I'm teaching this way and now my student is not learning. Maybe I need to change something. And that is the very much the essential of this general support tier, that every teacher can change something in their teaching, that all the kids could get something out of that. So what a teacher can do, that actually these animals could climb the tree. They might need some support and some help, but there they are. And not everybody needs to go that high up, but everybody can go there one way or another. And if you are interested about the differentiation, this is, now here is in Finnish, but this book is also published in English, How to Succeed in Differentiation. Maybe that's something that we could also link to Easy Hub, because it's a very good book by two Finnish gentlemen. Both have been working as teacher and principal, and very, very good practical book. So, and yeah.
Is that scaffolding?
Sorry?
Is that scaffolding?
Well, do you mean differentiation?
Yes.
Well, differentiation, scaffolding can be used when we are talking about differentiation and how to differentiate, how to individualize the teaching and learning. So obviously scaffolding can be one teaching method that can be used. So basically all the students should get what they need, rather than everybody getting the same thing. So when we are talking about differentiation and that everybody can do, so we are talking about how to meet individual needs of students. And Tomlinson is one of the most famous researcher and lecturer of the topic, an American lady. And sometimes I get asked that, do I need to differentiate all the time? How often? In which subjects? But this is a good quote stating that it's not actually something you just add sometimes, but it's more total way of thinking, that you should all the time think that, do I provide enough now opportunities to all my students, different kind of students, and is there something to everyone to grab on, so to say. And why every teacher should think this kind of differentiation methods is, here are some key results. Definitely, when you differentiate your teaching, it will enhance student engagement, involvement, increases motivation, prevents learning difficulties, and provides experience of success. And of course, when you have a motivation, you get a feeling that you can succeed in something, then you want to learn more. So it's this positive cycle. These we will skip. But here are the parts of your teaching that you can differentiate. And now when you go to the school visits, I would also like you to focus or observe what kind of differentiation methods you will see. So can you see something? Individualization in learning environment, teaching arrangements, methods, what kind of support materials teachers are using, how is assessment done. This is the 5-dimensional model of differentiation, and this is from the book that I showed you, the cover of so how to succeed in differentiation. And obviously this is a lot, so I don't think that every teacher should do everything in one lesson and all the time, but it's good to start with something, baby step. Is the learning environment so that this helps all my students? Have I taken into account different kind of learners, or am I always using the same kind of method? I've noticed that I like to use the methods that I'm good at, or I in a way that I learn most. It's very easy to use those, but maybe it's not the way that my kids are actually learning, so it's good to have variation. Do I offer some kind of concrete learning aids, some manipulatives, for example in math lessons? Are there some concrete aids for kids and so on? So teaching arrangements are one. Are they, how much they are individual work, how much collaborative learning? What kind of methods? And for example, this kind of station work is very typical, that maybe you will also see that there are different points and kids can go around. And I'll just quickly go. Next one, learning environment. So that there are
my favorite topic.
Yeah. So that there are chances for different kind of learning activities. There are places for group work, for individual work, for silent work, and also that students can choose where they want to work. They are allowed to move every now and then. Actually, studies are showing that our brains are crashing down in every 20 minutes, so if we don't change something in our teaching, so after 20 minutes nothing happens that much. Well, something happens, but it's not effective anymore. So after every 20 minutes something should change, or at least there should be some movement. So probably you will see a lot of kids flying around in the schools. But circle of trust is something that, of course, kids are not allowed to go outside if they don't really work and do their things. So those kids need to stay close to the teacher. And once they have shown that I can do this by myself and I will do this and then I'll come back if I need help, then they can go a bit further. Sometimes we have asked that, don't you, how come they are still staying at school? Why they don't run away if you let them out? But I don't know, I guess they like to be at school, so usually nobody runs away. Yes, and then when we are talking about teaching methods, materials, very easy, I would say, place to start with your differentiation. So for example, here could be an example that write a journal, but it doesn't mean that everybody needs to do the same thing at the same time and having the same end result, not at all. So that's also one thing, at least I hope you will see in the schools, that when there are 25 kids, not everybody is doing the same thing, so there is variation. One can, for example, draw a picture, that's enough for him or her, but then there are students who can write many paragraphs, but everybody can still succeed. Same content, different task, and same task, different expectations for the outcome. Very easy thing. Many of you, or those of you who I had a chance to talk when we had the inside-outside circle, mentioned that you don't have this kind of support system and help inside the school, but at least these are things that you can do, and I'm sure you are already doing a lot of this differentiation work in your teaching. We can pre-teach new content to kids. So if you know there is a student who will probably have some challenges, maybe have a short 15 minutes once or twice before that lesson when you are handling the topic, then there is a chance for him or her to shine when he already knows a bit. He doesn't start from the zero. And a lot of this kind of support materials can be used. Just you will see a lot of these at school. All these, I heard many of you said that parents need to put a lot of money if they want some extra help, but in Finland this is paid by the government. There is no unlimited budget, so it's very strict also with money here, but we do get these kind of materials to school. And I actually brought a couple of there are some Finnish study books, so if you are interested to see, they are mostly math books because those are in English. So this is also very typical that some students are only doing, for example, the first page, but then there are a lot of extra material for the kids who are more skillful. But it's enough for some students to do the core, very basic. So if you are interested to see how our math books look like, then there is one teacher guide for math book, and also English books for grade 3, so quite for the beginners. So if you want to have a look. And the last point of this picture that I showed you earlier, what are the 5 dimensions of differentiation? So also the assessment should be considered, that how can you actually help your student to prove his or her knowledge, what kind of test, what kind of testing situation is beneficial. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our assessment is done in formative ways, based on small things, everyday observation and so on, rather than having a big test. So this last part was just to give a short ideas that what teachers can do. They work even though the support structure is not yet there in a place as such, and hopefully you will see these things also during your visits.
I think it's very important.
Make sure you're giving positive feedback. It's like you don't need grades.
Yeah. We do, of course. There are sometimes they are getting grades, and so, but all the time the assessment should be encouraging. It doesn't mean that we need to lie or not pointing out where the students can get better, but it should be encouraging. Yeah. Also, this is something that I'm always thinking, that am I testing the right thing? So if there is a math test, but there are a lot of reading to be done, and the kids have, for example, dyslexia, are you then testing actually the math skills or the reading skills and things like that? So can there be somebody reading those him, or can there be more time, or test can be done in part, or maybe students can answer some question verbally and so on. Okay, but now I'm already in overtime. Have you talked about sharing the
yes.
presenter?
Yeah, we have the Easy Hub platform, so I can get your content and
So because now I went quite in hurry, so maybe there are some slides you want to look at more carefully, so I'll share them with you, and I'll also meet you then on Thursday at this event. So if you come up with questions or something that you have noticed or you want to talk more about, so I'm there also. But thank you at this point.